Welcome, everyone. My name is Cindy Teevens. I'm author of Alchemy, How to Feel Good No Matter What, and The Happiness Lie, What Generations Have Been Told That Makes You Unhappy. And this is an alchemy question and answer period where we talk about how to feel good fast and the impact that that can have on your life. Because, we've really been living backwards, mistaking the outside for the inside and tethering ourselves to the uncontrollable winds of change right in the midst of freedom. And this practice I call alchemy can return us to truth, sanity, and peace. So what is it really? It is a shift of state. You, instead of thinking positively, which is all the fad for some time now, you feel good first. Because when you feel good, good thoughts come easily and effortlessly. And when you feel bad, bad thoughts come easily and effortlessly, as I'm sure you've experienced. You may be having a great day and it doesn't matter what goes on. It's a great day. And then you may have a miserable day and it doesn't matter what goes on. It's a miserable day. So does it really have anything to do with the outside? You've been happy on a rainy day. You've been happy on a sunny day. You've been unhappy on a sunny day and happy on a, what's it got to do with the weather? What's it got to do with the outside? Absolutely nothing. But what is the common denominator? There is one. And it's you. It's you. It's you and what you're putting your attention on. See, I learned rather abruptly, suddenly, that we can shift our attention from what we don't want onto what we do want, regardless of what's going on around us. And that will immediately change our experience. That will immediately change our feeling, our perspective. It will immediately change our beliefs. It will immediately change our behavior and therefore our outcome. Because how you behave has a lot to do with your outcome, doesn't it? With other people in particular. So alchemy is really about recognizing I don't feel good. There's something here I'm wanting. Because if you weren't wanting something, you'd feel fine. It's not until we start wanting that we start hurting. And what happens is we get confused. We confuse the thing we want with our pain, or the thing we don't want with our pain. I call that the happiness lie. We want things to be a certain way. We want people, things, or events, or we don't want people, things, or events to be a certain way. And either way, we suffer. And this wanting is just a mental wanting. And if you stop mental wanting or not wanting, all the pain goes away, all the problems go away. That doesn't mean you won't take action to change things, like if you have to pay the bills and your bank account's empty, you will find yourself taking action. It's just, will you be taking action feeling good, feeling positive, feeling hopeful, feeling creative? Or will you take action, or maybe even not take action, as you're feeling bad, depressed, weak, impoverished? Is that a word? Impoverished. So that is about the only thing you have control over is what are you putting your attention on? What are you most interested in? And interest is one of your 5 powers you're born with, and I'm sure we will cover the powers as we go along here today. So what you're most interested in is where you will put your power of attention, which is one of your other powers. And when you put your power of attention there, then what you put your power of attention on will appear to magnify. It will appear real. You will start to feel the thought that you're holding to be true. And so that's what happened to me. I was in this middle of intense suffering, and my attention switched. My attention suddenly flipped over from where it was to something completely opposite. And all the energy that was being used to suffer suddenly was now generating love, joy, peace, bliss. And it was really mind-blowing, because my whole life and everybody that I know and everything I've ever heard says that things, people, or events make you happy or make you unhappy. And that's what our society tells us. And that's what we are born and raised into. And so it was really shocking to my mind to be, have this very tangible experience of love, joy, peace, and bliss right in the middle of situations that the mind was saying, you can't feel good. No, this has happened, that's happened. You have to feel bad, But I had suffered for so long that for the first time I denied mine. I refused mine. And that enabled me to make the discovery things, people, or events don't make us happy or unhappy. Literally, tangibly, really, But when this happened, well, mind would come up and say, oh, but you can't be happy because this and that and this and that's happened. But it dawned on me, I already was. Here is love, here is joy, here is peace, and here's mind coming in saying, no, you can't do that, but I already am. So you see, there was a reality, and there was what thought was saying about the reality. And which one are you living in? Are you living in the reality? Or are you living in what I call the movie of the mind, which is really thoughts about the reality, which can completely oppose reality? And if you believe the opposition, you will hurt. And so I went through this bouncing back and forth for a while, because I had this habit of believing the illusion, believing mind, and suffering. And, that was normal to me. And I thought that's the way it was, because it seems like everybody does it, everybody supports it, everybody says it's true. But my reality was very clearly saying, no, you don't have to suffer. The saying that suffering is, pain is mandatory and suffering is optional, absolutely true. And this is how and this is why. So I'd like to welcome my guests here tonight. We have one that is muted right now. If he would like to speak with us, he will have to unmute himself. That's something I cannot do. But I have another friend who, have you had any comments on that thus far, Danae, about what I've said?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I have very relatable experiences. For example, one of my experiences of myself is if someone I'm close to has died, or someone that I was trying to help with the work that I do has died, then I don't have any right to be happy. It's like I'm grieving, and grieving needs to be all consuming, and there's no space to be happy. It doesn't make any sense to be happy in the middle of that. And those are the samples that were coming up while you were talking.
Okay, yeah, very good examples, and I live them, of course. What started me on this path was my father's intense suffering, which led then to his subsequent suicide. And I remember clearly, it was 3 months after the suicide where a sudden natural joy came up, and I noticed it because I had been in this depressed kind of state for 3 months. And so this joy, it was very, very sort of grabbing, right? And it came up, and I went, wait a minute, I'm feeling good. And then it was, well, can I really feel good? Like, it was such a strange thing to me to hear this question saying, can I really feel good? And I was like, but I already am. Like, it's a strange question, because it was here. Undeniably, it was here. Then what happened was your power of authority, which is another one of the 5 powers, came in and sort of said, yeah, yeah, I can feel good. Yeah. Some people live for years after somebody's death, and they never give themselves that permission, or it just, not consciously anyway. Of course, joy is natural, and it will come up, and it will, it will arise, and it will be there, and they may just sort of, brush it away, brush it aside, and say, I can't be happy. I'm in mourning. I can't be happy. And then there'll be times when natural joy will come up, and they won't even know it too, really. But gradually, what will happen is that, eventually they will forget to suffer, you know, and then they'll just start to feel better and better and better without remembering they have to suffer. And we call that time healing. Sometimes it's not actually, time healing. It's just you're forgetting to suffer. So definitely, I can relate to that one for sure. But if you have this gradual return of joy, you don't really have a very cognizant understanding how optional it is. For me, it was so dramatic. It was so dramatic for me to see, like in the moment, suffering flip into love, joy, and peace. It just completely obliterated the belief that I had to suffer, And then I actually started to watch what was actually going on. What is happening here when this is switching back and forth? And clearly, I realized when I was paying attention to thoughts that feel bad, I'm feeling bad. And when I'm paying attention to and believing in empowering thoughts that feel good, I'm feeling good. It's that simple. It's that direct. And these ideas we have that we have to suffer because someone has passed, if we didn't, it wouldn't mean we love them. I've heard that, And it's just so, really, does the person who's passed, would they want you to suffer? Is that what they want you to experience of them? There are some people I know that want to keep the suffering because it's the only thing they have. It's sort of their substitute for the person. And I'm like, wow. Well, if you can substitute suffering for a person, why don't you substitute love and joy for the person instead? And that is just a process people go through. There's grief. There's shock and grief at loss, for sure. But that's different from suffering, which is mental, emotional, going over something over and over and over, and not really realizing that you're doing it. You're not conscious that you're doing it. And people aren't. Nobody wants to suffer. If people were conscious, they would not choose to suffer. Not if they were really conscious. So I've spoke about a couple of the powers that everybody was born with. And they're operating. Your power of authority is operating, whether you're aware of it or not. Even when you say, he hurt me, who's saying it? You are the final. You are the beginning, the end, the middle. There is nothing before you making you say these things, making you put your attention on them. And so your power of authority is absolute. When you start to realize that is the beginning of realizing your freedom, your natural innate freedom. And that's basically what I do. People will come up with, well, here's a reason I have to suffer, And I can sometimes play on the level of looking at that. Is that true? Is that really, does it have to be that way? But sometimes I'll just, point right to the level of, well, who's telling you to say that? Do you have to say that? What happens if you don't say that?
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because you're so on a question that I want to ask. So I notice in myself anyway that thinking happens automatically all the time, and taking for granted that these thoughts are real, therefore believable, therefore must be the fact of the moment, is a well-ingrained habit, and I think that's part of our acculturation. I'm not hearing you say block your thoughts or change your thoughts. I'm hearing you address placing our attention by our authority, or using our authority to place our attention where we choose to have it. Is that what you're presenting?
Yes, I never speak about controlling thoughts. In fact, I speak about feeling good without controlling thoughts or healing the past. Now, those things can happen, not controlling your thoughts. Healing the so-called past can happen as a result of doing this. But you don't, what I'm saying is you don't have to go and deal with absolutely everything that's ever happened to you in your past in order for you to be free. No, there is a shortcut. And what you just said was, that you think that thinking is part of our culture. And when I say thinking, meaning putting your attention on thoughts, you don't have control of thoughts. This is not about controlling thoughts. You can't control thoughts. However, if you give thoughts, and particular thoughts, your attention, they will appear to be real. You'll feel them. They'll be stronger, and they will come back again and again and again and again, like a broken record. So it's sort of like if you feed, the birds, they keep coming. And if you stop feeding the birds, they'll stop coming so much. And so it's a matter of realizing you have this choice. There's this space and gap between you and thought, and you have this choice to not believe, engage, put your attention on, and indulge a thought that feels bad. No matter if the reality, circumstances match the thought or not. For example, your bank account could be practically empty. Yes, this is a fact. We're not denying it. But you can put your attention on, my bank account's almost empty. Not a problem there. There's not really much if you just stay with that, there's not really much charge there. But what happens is oh my God, how am I going to pay this, that, and the other? I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to da-da, right? It's what I call the degeneration of thinking. And if that happens, you will start to hurt and suffer. And people will believe all that content has to do with the bank account being empty. It doesn't. It's pure thought. There is nothing there related to the bank account being nearly empty. You could just as easily put your attention on, okay, how am I going to get more money? Okay, what do I need to do? Where is other money? Right? This feels much better, and it works better. So you are completely free to do this. If you start going into degenerative thinking, you will start to feel bad. And when you feel bad, bad thoughts come easily and effortlessly. And when you feel good, good thoughts come easily and effortlessly. So as you purchase or bite the next bad feeling thought, you feel worse. And then another worse thought can come up, and then you grab that one, and you feel worse. And down the spiral, dark hole you go. And if you do this long enough, you will stress the body, mind. You can become depressed. Not only that, very quickly, even suicidal thoughts can come up as these thoughts degenerate. And so, you mentioned thoughts being part of the culture. That's not the root cause. It's true that that's what the majority of people are living in. There is the real world, and then there is the mental world, the illusory world that people are engaging in, that is an overlay of the world. And everybody's doing that practically. Why is that? We're not taught that. There's nobody who could get inside your head and tell you to believe that thought, right? Except that, maybe you will voice your thought and somebody will agree with you. Yes, that's true. He shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have done that. That's right. And so that confirmation doesn't help. But the real reason people are doing that is because they don't know the difference. They don't know the difference between the illusion, the illusory dream world, and the actual world. They really think that their content of thoughts are the reality. And they really believe they are the character in the dream.
Yeah.
They are the one at risk. They are the one, that has the problem. They are, and so when you believe that, it looks that way. It really looks that way. And so what I show people is how to start to separate yourself out from thought and feeling and the body, because it's not true. And when you start to do that, you get some space from thought and feeling. And speaking of space, I'm going to take a moment here to look at the chat roll to see if there is anybody there who's got a burning question on the topic we're discussing tonight. Somebody wrote, I have clicked on the URL and nothing is happening. I don't know what you mean by nothing is happening. Can you give me a tip on that? I did have some problem with the browser tonight in that the video wasn't showing on that page, and that's because my security on the browser was too high. I had to click on a button that said, yes, allow this to happen, and then the video showed up. Have a question here or a comment? Craig?
Hold on. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, again, very well.
I didn't have a question. No, I just before I had trouble figuring out how to log in to the conference. That's all.
You clearly found your way.
Technical difficulty solved, so it's okay.
Very good. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Okay, so I don't know who's on the chat board asking that, but if you can hear me, maybe try doing a refresh, maybe try another browser, maybe check your security. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree, and I am mind reading because I have to. I teach people about mind reads and how they get us into trouble. I have to mind read because I don't know what nothing is happening means. So give me some more information, maybe I can help you out. So that's a good sort of lead into mind reads. Mind reads are so damaging to relationships, and pretty much everybody is doing this. Why are they doing it? Because they're believing in the dream that they're living in. They think it's real. They don't bother to check their thoughts about other people, to see if it's true. So mind reading is claiming to know what somebody else is thinking or feeling. And when we do that, we don't even know that we're doing it because we're believing it to be true about them. And I don't know if you've ever been a recipient of this, but if you have, and I'm sure you have, somebody will, say something to you and you won't understand a thing they're saying. Like, why are you talking about that? What? I am so confused. Confusion is what comes up. What also might come up is if they are very clearly, putting something on you, you did this because of that. And very clearly that's not why you did it, then this is very obvious to you that there's been a mind read, that there's something going on that they have got in their head that you're not privy to. So they've got this movie going on and you're not privy to it. So you're missing all kinds of information. You're just seeing the part that comes out of the mouth and goes blah. And you're like, what are you talking about? Where did you get that from? I don't understand. That's because there's a mind read and you're not privy to everything else that's there. They're privy to it. They just think it's real. And so the way to start to deal with mind reads is there's 2 power questions that you can ask. And so if someone says to you, you did this, to be mean or something, then one question you can ask them, how do you know? Specifically, how do you know? So you're getting them to come forward with the information they didn't share, that they're using to come to the conclusion that that was what your purpose was. And so getting very specific, because someone was very vague. They jumped to a major vague conclusion. So in the reverse, to cure that, you get very vague. Then, if someone says something to you and you mind read it to be sarcastic or mean or something, you know, you notice you've got a mind read. Mind reads are not evil. I mean, because we don't have all the information, we have to sometimes guess. But when we mistake our guess for reality and truth, and we believe it, especially when it's a bad guess, and quite often they are bad guesses, because why? We're out to protect ourselves, you know. We think we have something to lose, and we're out to protect ourselves. So we sort of go on the attack to defend, which is the same thing. And then it doesn't work very well. So if someone does that, a question to ask them is, what was your purpose? What was your purpose in saying that or doing that? This is a fabulous question when you're confused. You don't know really, even when you have a mind read and it's a bad one, you may never have to share your bad mind read by asking this question, because they'll explain themselves to you and you'll realize, oh my God, what was I thinking? That's not, like, I could never have imagined where they're coming from, because of course their whole model of the world is different from yours. You know, their fears, their concerns are completely different, sometimes in opposition. So, you know, to break down these false walls and to have true intimacy as close as you can have with another person, you need to not believe whatever comes into your head. Because remember, those are just thoughts like birds that have been there for a while, and and they're all about you. They're not about the other person. You know, they're what you're worried might be happening or might be being said or done. And so to not believe them, and instead question them. Question yourself instead of questioning the other person. And get more information. And the whole thing can just be a non-issue, just disappear. But shifting your state first, too, you know. I would have mind reads about people, and they wouldn't feel good. And then I would start to ask myself, well, okay, what else could be true? And I asked this question so many times. I got so many different answers, and some of them were starting to feel good. Some of them were, you know, I was starting to get into a real good state, and I was creating all kinds of crazy, fun mind reads about people. I was having a ball, and so were people. It was like, wow, I could go around doing this instead of doing that. That's pretty cool. Who wouldn't do that, you know? So the practice of alchemy, 7 questions. Using your 5 powers. And the first 2 questions are the most critical because they shift your state. And when you shift your state, you open to wisdom that you don't have when you're in a tiny little contracted being experience, you know. And so the first question is, what do I want? You know. That was the most clear first thing that happened to me, because there I was doing serious wanting, you know. It was brutal. You know, I want this, I want this, I want that. But you don't have that. But I want this, I want this. But you don't have that. This was just going over and over and over. And I was like, geez, you know, it doesn't matter how much I suffer. It doesn't change anything. I don't get what I want. That's a little bit of a heart cracking. It's a little bit of humility. It's an opening. And it's like, well, okay. Have I suffered enough? Yes, I suffered enough. I was not interested in suffering anymore. And so in that moment of wanting, and I heard, but you can give yourself whatever you want. Huh? How is that possible? Now, I'm thinking I want this person, or I want this, and I want that. How can I give myself that? No, you can't give yourself a person, a thing, or an event. Maybe sometimes you can pull off an event if the universe cooperates. But you can't necessarily give yourself a person. You don't have any control. So what was that saying? It was saying what I wanted really wasn't the person. Right? I say we don't want things, people, or events. We want the feeling we mistake them for. The thing or the person or the event is not the feeling. You know, there's not 1 ounce of joy in 2 tons of metal of a brand new car. Not one. If you do feel joy when you get a new car, where's the joy? Is it in the car? No. And if it were in the car, you couldn't feel it. A lot of good that would do you. The joy is here. Why is it here? Because we have rules that we have set, and everybody's rules are different. For example, someone could go out and, your partner could go out and have sex with someone else, and you could be very upset. But for some people, your partner goes out and has sex with somebody else, they're very happy. I know it's not the majority, but it does exist. So what's with that? It's not the fact of what was done. It's the rules we set up for ourselves. We say, well, if this happens, I have to feel bad. You're the authority. Okay. If this happens, I get to feel good. Okay. You're the authority. What if your joy was unattached? What if it was completely free? That's the discovery I made, is that you are unlimited. I know that because I'm unlimited and I'm not special. I suffered just the same until this experience showed me I don't have to. And so what we do with alchemy is show people again and again and again through their own direct experience. They have their own experience until it erodes at the belief that says, I have to feel bad. Until they start to value feeling good. We value feeling bad. Why do we value feeling bad? It's hard on the body, right? It's hard on the mind. It's hard on others around us. It gets nothing done. Nothing useful, causes wars, criminal activity. Why do we value that? We value that because of the happiness lie, the belief that things, people, or events make us happy or unhappy. And we have this idea that if we can just go out there and change the world, change the person, change the thing, change the event. And there's this idea that we have to feel bad until we do that. And that if we don't feel bad, we won't go out and do that. So we will be condemned to suffering forever. It's ridiculous. We get one false concept, and then we're going to have another one on top of that, and another one, and another one, and another one. And it is quite shocking when you come to realize that none of it is real. None of it is true. I hope it's really shocking. So shocking that it blows your mind like it blew mine. Because then it will free your mind. So the first question when you're feeling bad, what do I want? There's something you're wanting. If you weren't wanting, you wouldn't feel bad. And so come to look at it face to face, honestly. Put on your big girl or your big boy pants. And not try and be bigger than it mentally, like, well, I just want to feel good anyway. I just want to rise above it anyway. I don't want to look at it. No, you've got to look at it. You've got to look at it because you're already attached to it. So looking at it will free you from it. You'll see what's actually going on. You start to end the unconsciousness. You're like, oh, that's what I want. Okay. I had one client, when I asked her what she wanted, she said, I want attention. She says, but I shouldn't want attention. And now you knot yourself up, right? This is trying to be bigger than you are. So you're attached, but you're trying to deny it. When, if you just give yourself whatever you want. The problem is not wanting really something. It's wanting it from something or someone else. So if you give it to yourself, there's no more wanting. It's over. And there's love, joy, and peace. See, she was in a situation, there were a lot of women together and they were all nattering away. They were all excited and sharing stories. And she was sitting back in the corner, feeling ignored, left out. So I said, what do you want? Well, I want attention. Okay. How does having attention feel? That's the second question. How does it feel? Oh, well, it feels like I'm part of things. It feels like I belong. It feels like, I'm engaged. It feels like I'm seen. Okay, good, good. How does being seen feel? And she went into that. You know how that felt? Oh, it felt connected. It felt loved. It felt appreciated. It felt, now we're getting to feelings, right? And then I said, okay, is this how you prefer to feel? That's the third question. She says, yeah, sure. By the way, I've never had anybody say no. But there's a purpose for this question. Because if this is how you prefer to feel, you'll keep your attention there. So you keep your attention there. And then I asked, who or what did you need to feel this? Did you need them to be different? And she realized, well, no, clearly not. If I can feel this now, and they never did pay attention to me, I didn't need them. Right. This is detaching. That's the fourth question. And then the fifth question is, what do I think of them now? So there she was, feeling connected, feeling important, feeling part of the group. What does she think of them? Wow, they're having fun. Wow, this is exciting. Okay. Feeling this way, how do you act? That's the sixth question. Well, I jump in. I comment. I contribute. And is this how you prefer to act? Yes. You see how, instead of waiting for the world to change, you be the change you want to see. You give it to yourself. And then it will appear like the world has changed to you. It's the inner change that needs to come before the outer change. So now that you know how it works, if anybody would like to do a little demo with it, I'm open to that. We have 23 minutes here. We could do a short, yes?
Raising my hand.
Hey.
Yeah. So do I need to pick something to go through the process with?
Yeah, so can you think of a time when everything was okay, and then suddenly it wasn't?
Yes.
Yeah? You know where you were and what was going on exactly, specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you know what you were wanting?
Well, I was fine, and then when the event happened, I was wanting it to not be happening. I was wanting it to be different than what it is.
Right.
Someone I was very close to sort of went, had a mental breakup. Yeah.
Okay. So they were all upset and what they were saying, everything, right? This is what
Well, it's easier if I'm specific because it'll help me work with you better.
Okay.
A very long time ago, when my mom went into a full-blown manic episode, which I'd never seen before and had never encountered before. So my experience was I felt shock at this total change of person who I knew to be my mother, and I wanted it to not be happening, but it was happening.
Okay. Can you give me an example, a very specific example of something that she said that you didn't like?
Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go a little further into the experience. I went to call for help, like to get on the phone and call for help, 911 or something. And she's a tiny little woman, like tiny little person. And she grabbed the phone out of my hands, like with the ferocity of a GI guy, big, hefty male, and told me that I wasn't making any phone calls. So in that moment, there was a physical
Yes.
encounter reinforcing the reality that I found myself in.
Yes, yes. Okay. So in that moment, what did you want?
I wanted that whole thing to not be happening. I wanted to feel safe.
If that thing were not happening, what would you have instead?
Um, Probably just going along my way, a relative sense of just playfulness and enjoying myself, just hanging out.
Okay, you need to be specific with regards to the event. So when I ask this question, there's something specific you don't want involving a thing, a person, or an event.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so you need to be specific about what you do want regarding the thing, the person, or the event.
Peace, a feeling of peace inside.
That's a feeling, not an event, a thing, or a person.
Mm-hmm.
What did you want that if you had it, there'd be no problem, tangibly, if you had it?
The ability to make the phone call.
That could be one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very tangible, measurable thing.
Yes,
I
yes.
want to complete making this phone call.
Yes, very good. Another one that came to my mind, and I'm only mind reading it, and don't say that it would work for you if it doesn't. Okay. And I think in that moment you wanted to make the phone call. That's beautiful. We could work with that. But also you maybe wanted your mom to be healthy.
Oh yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That might even be more incomplete. But let's work with the phone call, making the phone call. Okay. So, because that's the first one you came up with. So, how does making that phone call feel?
If I could, you mean?
No, not if. You see, the if implies I can't feel this unless I have that.
Right. Making the phone call feels like a relief.
Yes. Yeah, you do know how that feels. I'm not asking you if you made the phone call. I want to be
Right.
clear on this. We're not being
Yeah.
delusional here, right? Yeah.
Right.
Just how making that phone call feels. Like relief?
Yes.
What else?
Um, Safety.
Yeah.
It feels safe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What else?
Feels supported. Feels secure.
Yes. What else? Anything?
Feels like this isn't a feeling, but it feels like being saved. Like I'm not in this alone. I'm being joined with. Feels
Did you
like
did you say saved? Was that the
saved.
word? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Joined with. Yeah. I like how you're avoiding the negative. Some people might say not alone, and I would say put that positively. Because you always want to be putting your attention on something positive, what you do want. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So being saved, you're being joined, helped.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So what did it mean that you couldn't make the phone call?
Uh, I I felt unsafe. I felt scared. I felt trapped. I felt stressed,
Can I guess?
alone.
Yeah. Can I
Yeah.
guess?
Yeah.
Controlled?
Oh, yeah. You mean
Okay.
the big pink elephant in the room that I'm not noticing? Yes, control.
Good seeing. Good seeing. Okay. All right. Okay. So now another one of the tools in alchemy is to just come to your senses, which means feel your feet, sense into your feet. Notice they're there. Sense into the top of your head. Notice your peripheral vision at the same time, because you can do that, right? And notice your breath moving in and moving out. And do that all at once. What's that like?
Expansive. I feel myself expanding. A second before you asked that, I had a lot of fire, feeling of like heat and fire coming up my center. And
Mm-hmm.
now I feel wide and expanded.
Okay, good. Is it calm?
Definitely. Quiet.
Quiet. Good. So what you're doing is you're pulling the power away from the stream of thinking because you're putting it into the senses. Okay. All right. So sensing into the body, I want to ask you this, and I want you to ask the body. How does feeling safe, supported, secure, saved, joined, helped feel? How does being in control feel?
Great. I feel a lot of vitality and life-giving. There's like actually a life-giving surge happening right now as you ask me that.
Great, great. So there's an energy in the body you're aware of? Very good. So just enjoy that for a moment, that surge, that vitality, that life-giving energy. Got it? Okay. Appreciate it. Notice what happens when you appreciate it.
It just got bigger.
Okay, good. And is this how you prefer to feel?
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay, so keep your attention on it no matter what, okay? Stay here. And as you do that, enjoying this vitality, energy, life-giving, safe, supported, secure, helped, joined, in control. Okay? Enjoying that. Just look back on the situation where she said you're not making the call, but sustain this is the most important thing, okay? Okay? You're safe, supported, in control. And what do you think of what she said now?
There's no charge. It's like, okay, there's no resistance, there's no charge. It's just like, okay.
Very good.
I have total peace happening.
Okay, very good. Who or what did you need to feel this? Anything? Anybody?
Nope.
Did you need her to let you make the phone call?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So staying here, enjoying this. Is it solid? Is it sort of secure?
It's secure. It actually feels fluid. It's definitely staying.
Yes. Okay, good. Okay, so who was actually controlling you?
Well, my fear, my emotions. Yeah.
Your fears were controlling you, or you were controlling you?
Well, I was controlling me, and I was believing my fears. So yeah, I was controlling me.
Yes, yes. And what do you think of your mom?
Now,
Yes. From this state, staying here?
oh, what do I think of her?
Yeah.
I think she is having an experience in what we're talking about. I think she had an experience of a chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
It was a physiological event.
Yeah. You think that was a good experience?
No.
Yeah. No.
No.
Yeah. Can you I'm not saying that you didn't do this, but can you tap into compassion?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yes. Could you tap into compassion from fear?
I don't experience that.
Back when she said you're not making the phone calls.
Right, right. There was just fear
Yes.
and being terrified, and that, in my experience of myself, doesn't create space for compassion, for
No.
direct contact with compassion.
Is it more like anger?
Oh, yeah, anger and fury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't want you to go there. I just wanted you to check and see. I didn't think you would because you were pretty good and solid. Just to have the realization that, the difference between the two states, right? Yes. And how you can how you can act, right, differently by shifting your state first, how you can see differently, when compassion kicks in. I mean, it's relief for you, and it's far better for everybody else, right?
Yeah.
And
Space. It's giving a lot of space.
yes, and compassion can't kick in where there's anger, right? The two, they're not compatible. So feeling relief, safe, supported, secured, this vitality, this life surge, it's very, this life surge may arise, there'd be a lot of energy, and some people can confuse that for fear. There's like, no, this is life energy. Okay, there's something to do here, right? You're getting ready.
Yeah.
Just pay attention, there's something to do here. Were you alone?
Yeah, kind of. My cousin was there, but she was younger and hiding. She was real scared.
So there's a difference between being alone and being lonely,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by alone is sort of helpless, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which is why I was calling to get help.
Yes. So in truth, were you helpless?
In truth, was I helpless?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay. So if you were controlling you, could you make the phone call?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you were controlling you, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Wow. That's kind of wild.
Yeah. So who chose not to make the phone call?
I did.
Yeah. And that's okay. You did the best you could with what you had, right?
Yeah.
We're not here to judge the past. We're just here to realize that we have choice, And this is how, not by controlling the outside, but by taking care of the inside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's very powerful. Very, very powerful. I actually feel even more energy surge happening now. It's growing. It just keeps growing as I'm sitting here. I'm like, wow.
Yes, because you're realizing your full ability.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unattached to anything.
Yeah.
Your full power to engage as needed in life,
Yes.
not to shrink, from anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
Very great. Thank you for playing.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So you can do that shift anytime, any place. You may need to, go to the bathroom for a minute, be alone for a few minutes, depending on the situation. Or if you're on the phone with somebody, you might say, can I call you back, in a few minutes. And you go, you take care of yourself first. This is the most selfish thing you can do. Is at the same time both. And go and indulge a bit, get a really good shift. The shift is important. You can't just, employ positive thinking, put a good thought on a bad feeling. Yeah, if anybody's ever tried that, that it doesn't really work, and it can make things a lot worse, actually, and it can hurt really badly. I mean, I was the queen of doing that. I tried that to the extreme, and every time I tried to do it more and more and more, it was brutal. So I say don't, think positively. Feel good first. So you use the first two questions. And the second question is, how does it feel? That's the last word, should always be feel. And now you're feeling, not thinking. And you start to shift. And just even a little shift will start to make the space that you need to access the wisdom that is already there, that you already have within you, and the strength to do what you need to do. I'd like to welcome another guest who came in partway through and invite him if he has any comments or questions. Feel free to unmute yourself there, Rob, if you do. at any point. Your timing was perfect. We just started a session. No audio.
Hello.
Hey, great. Hello.
It's good to see Danae doing the alchemy and to see her realizing the power and the effect. It's just an amazing tool.
Very fun. Very fun.
And I really liked what you said. There's one thing you said in here about not controlling the outside, caring for the inside.
Yes.
It just seems like that really captures it.
Yes, it does. And I mean, ultimately, there is no outside and inside. But while we think there is, we're always trying to manipulate what we believe to be the outside, and that's where the error is made. And so, instead of putting our attention on what we perceive to be as others who are our problem, we turn within and we find everything we could ever possibly want here or need here. It's always here. We lose it when we turn away, when we look outside of ourselves as if there's something real out there.
Right.
Something important out there, that's so, and that's the way most people are functioning right now, as if there's something out there that is more important than what's in here. And it's not true.
Yeah, as if there isn't out there, but I know baby steps.
Yeah, that's a different conversation. But yeah, first, because of our power of interest, we're so interested in the outside because of our power of attention and because of our power of authority that says that's more important. That's the most important thing. I have to change that or I'm not going to be okay. We've got it all backwards. We first have to be okay, and then we see if there's anything to change. Otherwise, you are attached to the ever-changing winds of life that you can't control, you can't rely on, and you will suffer. You will be dragged around, If you're being dragged around, there's only one thing to do. Let go.
Yeah.
So this is the way to let go. So I have a question that I just saw on the chat roll. I'm glad to see that it's working. Thank you. The question is, what is the fourth question? What is the seventh question? So I'll just run through them. The first question is, what do I want? What do I want? And you have to answer it positively and innocently and with bravery and be very honest about that. And then, how does it feel? And then the third question is this what I prefer to feel? And if it is, you'll stay with it. And the fourth, who or what did I need to feel this? Anything? Anyone? This is the turning point of detaching. The fifth question is, what do I think of it or them now? And you'll see things in a completely different light from a different state. The sixth question is, feeling this way, how do I act? By the way, on the fifth question, if you look back on the situation and you drop the state, this can happen, right? I get you into a really good state, you get a nice state going, and I say, oh, what do you think about what happened now? And you go, ugh. Right? It's okay. You just start over and you rebuild your state. And you get back into it and you look back again. And every time you look back, you learn to sustain the state. You learn to stay here even as you reflect on what happened. And eventually, you'll be able to stay here and look back. But the really weird thing is, you won't see looking back the same way. There was I remember somebody who had judged somebody a certain way. And when we did this, and I said, what do you think of them now? And they looked back at them, and they said, I can't see them. I said, yeah, you can't see them because what you saw was a judgment. You didn't see them, number one. But then it came out later, I didn't even know what the judgment was about, because we can do this work without really getting into too much detail sometimes. And sometimes it's fun to go that way, although these days I tend to ask for a bit more. But when more of the detail came out, and this is why I asked for a bit more, because when more of that person's detail came out, it came out that they judged them because of the clothes they were wearing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it was a very visual, judgment. And so that they couldn't see them because the judgment was gone and they hadn't yet let reality, what was true, be seen without the judgment. So it took some more work until they could actually see that person in the clothes that they're wearing without the judgment. And this is why I say it's not the eyes that see, it's the mind that sees. And I have literal stories on that, that happened to me, where I could not literally see what was right in front of my eyes because mind said, no, that's not like that. That's not there. And so moving along, the sixth question again is feeling this way, how do I act? And then the seventh question to answer this patient person's question is this how I prefer to act? And once you sort of anchor that in and realize, oh yeah, this is way better, way better, then you start to value feeling good. It becomes more important to you than changing the outside. And that's what happened to me in that moment was I chose to value how I feel above what's going on around me. Because how we feel comes from our judgment of what's going on around you. And if you don't judge it, you feel better. Is that good enough incentive? And you can find that you're innately free. That's where your freedom is. Things can happen, you can't control them, but you don't have to. Thoughts can come and go, you can't control them, but you don't have to. It brings us back to one of the first questions that was asked was, you're not saying we're controlling our thoughts, are you? I'm like, no. However, when you stop being interested in the thoughts, they'll fade. They will. Some people find themselves in situations and it's only after the fact and they go, huh. And sometimes they don't even notice it. Sometimes their partners notice it. I had a couple who were out shopping again and her husband said to her, thank you. She was like, what? He's like, thank you. Like, what? Thank you for, not doing what you would have normally done in that situation. And she was like, oh, yeah, you're right. And so it becomes your new way of being that you don't even think about it anymore. And it's not until retrospect that you look back and go, wow. And that's why I have the happiness lie ratio quiz that you can take. And I encourage everybody to take it at the beginning before they start this practice to see how much suffering versus joy they're experiencing. And then later on to retake the test. And this came to me when I was reading somebody else's list of, do you do this, do you do that, do you do this, do you do that? And if you do this and you do that, you're a warrior. You're warring with life, basically. And I looked at these questions and I went, well, I don't do that, but I remember doing that. And I was like, whoa, what a change. So, and that just really helps anchor it in.
Beautiful. Cindy, I am so excited I got to be with you for this last hour, and I want to do more, and I have an appointment I need to tend to, but I want to say thank you so much. That was awesome and outrageous and yummy.
Oh, very good, very good. Thank you for coming, enjoying, and sharing, and opening yourself. It's such a beautiful gift.
Thank you.
And
See you on the next round.
See you on the next round. Thank you, everybody, for joining. My name is Cindy Teevens, and this was Happiness Question and Answer period of using Alchemy. See you next time.